Hi.
Hello again.
David and I have decided that this book that David plugged in one of our recent videos, This Freedom Whence, by John Wesley Bready, is important enough that it should be read by everyone and heard by everyone. So we've decided we're going to read through this particular book, just as we did with Ray Franz and David did with James Orr, because it's got so much important information in it. So when we read it separately before, David got a page worth of notes at the back of the book, and I got 2 pages, although David writes much tinier than me. So we got a lot of inspiration as to what we wanted to do with our future, our life. And we passed it on to other friends of ours who were also inspired by the book. And I think it encouraged them in the directions they went in. And they were involved in social work, Christian work.
And still are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And still think fondly back to these books. We talk about them regularly.
So I hope this will bless them too when we revisit this, and then we can plug it to the next generation of social workers following in their footsteps.
Right. So we're beginning with the foreword. According to a widely accepted view, it is the function of the historian to deal with facts and events, rather than with their interpretation. So far as this conception obtains, those great moral and spiritual forces, which so largely motivate progress and achievement, have little recognition, and far-reaching changes and reforms are treated as mere pragmatic significance. Beyond this, attention is chiefly fixed on the fruits of great movements, rather than the roots from which they spring. Hence the inevitable distortion of historical perspective. The destructive influence of this philosophy of history is peculiarly marked when related to the American tradition. The spiritual conceptions which lie back of the Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights are lost in obscurity, while our democratic ideals, social concepts, and tremendous economic advance all have given America her vast power and world influence, are ascribed to native idealism, popular education, and the progress of science.
Some reflection of this unbalanced view will be found in all periods of world history. Secular historians of the 1st and 2nd centuries, Tacitus, Pliny, Lucian, and others, those are Roman historians, look with undisguised cynicism upon the rise of Christianity. They had no apprehension of the dynamic quality of its teaching and regarded the movement as passing hysteria. Yet a few obscure, mainly unlettered men who had entered into the spirit of the new faith produced a literature that emancipated the world from pagan degradation and surpassed in its uplifting influence all the writings of generations following. Later centuries, notably the 16th and 18th, witnessed spiritual movements of the same transforming character, movements which lifted the blight of ignorance and superstition from many peoples, changed the course of European civilization, and gave new moral direction to the English-speaking world.
It is from the standpoint of these well-known facts that Dr. Bready approaches the great period of Anglo-Saxon ascendancy. With conspicuous literary skill and extraordinary comprehension of fact, he presents an analysis of that dynamic period, which is as fascinating in interest as it is irrefutable in logic. He has given us not alone the most convincing demonstration of the power of Christian truth that modern history affords, but the clearest exposition of the genesis and meaning of our cherished liberties. One by one, the famous leaders in statesmanship, social reform, philanthropy, child welfare, and labor are summoned. Those who stood in the forefront of the great forward movements of that epic era, and all are found to be men and women of the burning heart.
That seems to be an allusion to that famous reference from John Wesley's diary where he records his conversion and says, "My heart was strangely warmed." So it became a cliche about evangelicals and their conversion, that they were from that moment on burning hearts. Kind of the equivalent of being born again today.
Yeah.
It goes on, "Here is a salutary message for our day, a corrective for much superficial thinking. Rarely has so much of historic fact, of searching analysis, of sound deduction and illuminating comment been combined in a single volume. I believe there are few who will turn from these pages without a new and exalted sense of the meaning of freedom. Beyond philosophy or political organization, there is a latent force, a spirit governing the relations of society. As with all of the higher attributes, this spirit must be realized within before it becomes manifest without. In the evangelical sense, it is a change of heart. In the sphere of citizenship, it is a lofty conception of the rights of the individual. But everywhere its roots are planted in the soil of Christian faith, by which it has been consistently nourished. Where faith has not taken root, tyranny is the sole alternative." Well, that's a great sentence. Where faith has not taken root, tyranny is the sole alternative. And that's something that faces us down right now.
Yeah, it's very applicable to today.
And then he finishes, does Hugh Munro, with this sentence: "Beyond all question, the author has given an authoritative and effective answer to the query of the title of this book, This Freedom Whence." Hugh R. Munro wrote this foreword. He apparently was a prominent evangelical in the period between the two wars. So we've linked on your screen a video we did, I guess it was close to 2 years ago. Os Guinness, that British visitor who's been living in America for many years now, as I understand it, and has an interesting out-of-the-box view of American religion. He wrote a book about the American situation in modern evangelicalism, and he called it Fit Bodies and Fat Minds. It caused something of a sensation a generation ago. Os Guinness, yes, he's part of that family. Very famous family in Great Britain. So I'll put that link on your screen, and then next time, Brady's own preface to This Freedom Whence.